Let's see if this is working here. Folks, I don't know if this is coming through. There it is. Here we go. Okay. Okay. All right. How fun. Now we're going to go try to get Rodney in this. This is live, so this is what happens. Okay, Angie's back Tuesday. And I'm online. Here I am typing to you. I can just tell you. I couldn't recreate the title and everything from scratch. I had to kill the last stream and start over. So here's what we're doing. We're waiting for Rodney to chime in. He's run a little bit late. So here's how we're going to start. Man, I'm telling you, that was a really long trip. And I haven't done one of these solo in a while, so bear with me. But I did pull up some really interesting stuff. So I'm going to treat this like a buffet. A little of this, a little of that, you know. And we'll move on. And when we hear a jingle in the background, that'll be Rodney. So he should have the link. We'll see how that all goes. Anyway, so here's one of the things that here's where, for anybody that's watching real estate, and I think we've talked about this before, is that one of the most important things they're looking for is two things: availability and the price of the properties. And so I read just this morning, as I was doing some more research yesterday and today, states where home prices are falling the fastest, and there's going to be somebody on the hands. You're going to recognize one of these places. Anyway, so we're going to start out this way, and what we're doing. Hit me. Hit me, she says. I like this. So here's the states where the home prices are falling the fastest, and I could share the screen. We could do it that way, but I think that we've been through the it's too hard to read thing before. So the first one is Massachusetts, surprisingly enough. The typical home price, now this goes back to November, this is March, and that's how the quarters flow. When you're looking at prices, they're always lagging. You know, that's just real estate. It lags a little bit. And these are some pretty big numbers, so it's important that we have some accuracy in there for what they're looking for. Number 10 was Massachusetts. The home price in November was $536. The value declined between June and November of 1%. Now this is ascending. It's going to get more intense. Then the Washington State, typical home price in November was $608. It's now down 1.5%. That's a big deal. The difference between Washington and the national average is Washington was 70% higher than the national average. And Rodney and I have been talking for weeks about, and this is really an important point, when we talk about national averages, that's just, it's an average. It's everybody balled into one and is given one number, which in some ways, it doesn't mean much to the local person, because it can make you think things are worse or better than they are. So here in Washington, for example, again, the difference between the average Washington home and the national average is it's up 70%. Can you imagine? That's a bunch. In Oregon, and we know that there was a lot of migration to Oregon as well. The difference there was 43%. They went Oh, look who it is. We're going to have fun here. Rodney, we're live. Did you get the link?
Do what now?
Did you get the link? I'm actually on live streaming right now. Did you get the link?
Shoot. No, I just got off that call here.
That's fine. Remember, we're live.
All right, I'm jumping on right now.
Okay. See, we'll jingle you in a minute. Okay. I'm telling you, live stuff. Y'all better be keeping me happy. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oregon, typical price, $511, down 1.6, 43% higher than national average. Colorado, a lot of people, I'm from Colorado. A lot of people moved there. The price in November, $572, they're down 1.7. Difference in Colorado home, 60%. Kind of going through this. District of Columbia. I didn't know. I have a friend that was living in Washington for a while and said it is really kind of a cool place because of the museums and stuff. Just never really thought of that in a real estate perspective. The national average was 89%. The difference between the average DC home and the national average, 89%. Believe that. Idaho, 29%. Was $462 was the home price in November, down 2.5%. Utah is $554, down 3.1%. California, typical home price in November, $762. Typical. Now that's typical. Decline in value was 3.7. Now we're talking the ones that are making the big hits is going to be LA. In that area, that's taking a big one. San Francisco, it carries a lot of the weight because they've really gone down quite a bit. But California, I don't care how you slice it, you're doing all right. You should be happy. The difference between the California home and the national average is 113%. Have a nice day. It's about time, Rodney. Yeah. And he still hasn't clicked in yet. I'm going to send him another one. Hang on. Bear with me, Ange. You're really special helping us out here. There's that. Link. Good. Link copied. Okay, good. And where we were. Okay. So the next 113%, you're doing good. And here's the way you got to look at that. When you're that high, I mean, when your prices have gone up that much, you can come down quite a bit and you're still doing really good. I mean, you just are. So in Arizona, the typical home price, now this surprised me. Arizona, the typical price was $423. Decline in value was 4.2%. And the national average for them was 18%. That's not huge. It's not huge. I would have thought it would have been more. And number one, the typical home price, and remember what this is about, where home prices are falling the fastest. So that's what this is about. Number one is Nevada. Now, what this means is if you're thinking about selling, if it's falling, you probably want to pay attention to that. Nevada, 438, the decline in value between, who could this be? Who could this be? Could it be?
What's up, my man?
Look at this. Oh, look who's here. Rodney, what do you know?
Are we having a show today or what? What's going on?
We're deep into it, and Angie's she's been a little tough on you, man. She beat you here to the show today, so she wanted to let you know that.
There you go. Sorry, Angie, my bad. My call ran a little bit longer than we thought.
Anyway, so I'll finish up on what this was. What I was going through was the list of the areas where the prices are falling the fastest. If somebody's trying to sell or if they're looking at real estate, the point of this was kind of pay attention to what's going on because there's some movement going on. So number one, the one that's falling the very fastest is 430 is Nevada at 438. The decline has been 4%, and the difference between the average Nevada home and the national average was 22. What made, and she said she was cute, make me happy. And I said, okay. And so the California difference was the difference between the average California home value and the national average was 113%. And my take on that was, even if prices are dropping, you got a long way to fall before it starts to negatively impact you in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, that's I seen that as well. 113%.
113.
Yeah, national home. Right. I mean, that's the average home price, right?
Versus the average national home, which goes to the same thing that we talk about a lot, and that is real estate is local. It just is. And I've got other articles here that really speak to that. So we're going to, are you in a position where you can throw up your shared screen?
Oh, 100%.
Because we're going to go right back into, look at that. Wait a minute. Oh, that's doink. Here we go. Alert to lock. That's big news.
That's the very first home screen you had. Our business in a row.
Oh.
They have issue alerts to lock 2 days in a row. And this board actually will constantly load. But as you can see, we are 3 months so we get some more. Our friends, there it is, how a lens are efficient reprice. Mean whatever you said is no longer valid. I'm often start a new one. That's why I get alert lock.
Hey, Rodney.
Sure.
We're still having internet problems. I'm sorry, Angie. This was fun. Can you hear me? Okay. It's out. We're losing it big time.
Yeah,
can you hear me? Are you there? No.
I'm here.
Let's try one thing. Let's try this. Oops. Now try. Talk to me now.
Can you hear me?
I can. It's the shared screen that's doing that to us. So we're back. We're good. We're good. So can you just tell us what was going on that screen? Because that's the problem there.
Yeah, for the second day in a row at 2:47, I think it was Eastern time, we received the alert to a lock. That means that this service just basically tells me that the price we currently have is fixing to be no longer valid, and they're going to, our lenders who we do business with are going to reissue a price, and should be out shortly. So they just give us a little heads up before our pricing gets worse. So,
and that's what they're preparing you for today.
Yes, like if you have customers, like if we have, for our customers that are, that got a contract this morning or late last night or something like that, we want to get them locked in ahead of this rate change that's coming up.
Okay. And I would imagine that part of that is going to be on what we're going to talk about next is the feds are going to release their decision tomorrow on the Fed funds rate.
Right.
So do you pick your spot? Where do you land on that?
I'll tell you where I'm at.
Okay.
I was maybe last Tuesday, I was 100% confident that they were going to raise the rates. Maybe not 100%, just because that the bank in California, but seeing that, Credit Suisse and others that's had some issues, I think they're seeing that some of these banking policies that they've put into effect may be a part of this issue. So I'm anxious to see what they do tomorrow. I would be totally surprised if they did a half a point. I'd be a little surprised if they did a quarter. I'm not so sure they're not going to do anything.
Yeah. If I was a betting man, and I'm not, but I will make a stand on this though. Think about the impact of what they're. This is kind of exciting times. In other words, we're getting a good look behind the curtain on how the economy is. I'm going to call it managed, and people would call it mismanaged. And there's way smart. I'm not a financial person, but I can read,
Right.
and I can see what's going on. And the reason this is kind of exciting for me, and I don't mean that positive or negative. I mean, it's just there's a lot of stuff going on. Here we've got this economy that's still too hot, clearly. And then on the other side, we've got these banks that we're kind of at a tipping point a little bit. If you were to talk to the economists, there isn't anybody that isn't certain that people are going to freak out and start yanking their money, and that's where it starts.
Right.
Now we've got this gentleman that has to balance all of this, and all that being said, he's still got to cool down the economy, and they were saying today that it looks like the panic is cooling down. So my bet, if we were to lay 50 cents on it or something, I would lay 0.25 on it. That's where I'm standing on that.
Yeah, I would take that bet of 25 cents, and I would say he's not going to do anything.
You're going to be zero.
Okay. Just to have a live bet on the show.
So you got to tune in next week to see who's losing that quarter.
That's right. I'm going to mail it to you too. FedEx. I'm going to send it to you by FedEx. $14 FedEx overnight.
There are a lot of people that are saying in order for him to do his job well, he's got to keep the heat on. Not the 50, but there's just a lot of bank run. Oh God. Don't say that. Don't even say that.
I just don't know. I'm like, okay, so I think this is the 8th time he has raised it since March of last year.
Yeah.
It's like, at what, some people could argue that just 1 year is not enough time to see what a couple raises did.
Yeah.
Right. So he is 8 raises, and most of them are 0.75 of a point or something, right?
4 of them were in a row, right? Yeah.
Okay. So, it wouldn't kill somebody to hold on for a second, especially when we've had I won't call it a bank crisis, but if consumers lose confidence in the banks, the banking system, the government's they're just going to say, okay, we guarantee everybody so that's the whole thing. Is I just don't think that with a banking issue, there should be any. Let's see what all these other raises. We're already seeing the bad effects that's happened on banks. So,
I'm glad you said that, because isn't that part of it? When you're cooling off in an economy, there's going to be, unforeseen consequences, unintended.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, right. I don't know that they're unintended. I think they would be unintended if it got too hot. But you make a really good point. Period.
Andy, that's what I do. I think that's my middle name, is that I make good points.
Okay, now. Well then.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I'm, I mean, I when it's just too big of an issue, like, bank run, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's too
Yeah,
big of an issue to even mess with. It's like, Russia talking about nuclear stuff. I mean, that's about what that is, right? I mean, it's the last option.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, hmm. Well, and so let's move on to this other thought based on that. So, what would it take for the economy for people to get more interested in the economy? The next article we're looking at is housing market gains momentum as loan applications jump amid the first drop mortgage rate in 5 weeks. Now, this is a couple of days old, but what they're talking about is that Yahoo Finance article I'd sent to you. Now, and so overall, you must have seen loan applications jumped and I mean, that's your business. So you've seen that happen. Is that true?
Yes, I mean, over the last few weeks, yeah, since you can kind of look, notwithstanding the last couple days,
Right. Yes.
um, but yes, as the rates have started to drop down, more activity is going to happen, and that is right now, from what I can see, or the best. I haven't researched this a whole bunch, so but it looks like somewhere around 350,000 and under rates are they affect that market less than above that number.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so until and then if you're in a metro area like we are, and the median housing prices are well above that, we're going to be kind of like, I think our area is slower to start hitting the numbers versus some of like an outside county, like I have an office in Rutherford County
Right.
that's seeing a little bit more activity than an $800,000 move up buyer.
I'll pull up something while you're chatting. I'm going to pull up um, market stats in Williamson, Davidson, Rutherford, and 37013 just for fun. Davidson, just to see how that's like median price and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then we'll do.
And Angie says, "Who trusts the government?" Angie, you got to trust them. You got to trust that they're going to do something crazy.
And then this last one, you'll see where this is
You
going.
know, as bad as they are,
That's all we got.
as bad as they are, I'm telling you, all you have to do is go to another country for a few days, and you'll see how see how good our see how good we have it. That's
Yep.
that's the
I wonder if this is going to work. I'm going to try something here, Rodney.
boom.
Yep. Just going to do. I wonder if it's going to blow this up. Well, what I was trying to do was show the difference. There's got to be a better way to do that, but I can't do it on the fly. Showing the difference between Williamson, Rutherford, and Davidson County. But it doesn't pull it the way that I want. I mean, those are crazy charts. Let me do something here.
Is that the median home price though? Like,
I'll show you here. Those are going to be. These are the average prices on that. I wish I could just. I'm going to try something here. It might blow things up, but we're going to try it anyway. Nope, not going to work. gonna work. Ah, there we go. Oh, hey, that worked really good. And so that's median price, and the colors here are Davidson here, Williamson at the top, of course. And that's the whole reason for me pulling this up was you were talking about how Williamson County is sort of a special sauce a little bit. And even locally, that can be so dramatically different. That's the whole reason I brought that in. I mean, look at that's days on market. Golly.
Look at, I mean,
Man.
it's amazing how those trends work.
It is. It really is. So we kind of got lost on that a little bit. Sorry, I just wanted to test that. So one of the other things that, here we go. Did that. So let's talk about this real quickly. So we're gaining momentum. The reason that was so important, I think, on that gaining momentum idea, and we keep replaying this scenario, and I guess that consistency is a good thing, is that when the rates go down just a little bit, people are in. I mean, they're out there putting contracts on stuff. They're interested. I mean, I've got buyers now that are out looking. I've got more than one set of buyers out that are actively looking, and they care about the rates, but they're less concerned than they were. And so I think any downward movement, people get active pretty quick. That's my whole point.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, they're going to come in by the millions as the rate, if the rates go down.
And so we gotta jump back just to think about that. Wouldn't that heat the market? In your opinion, wouldn't that heat the market up and threaten the inflation a little bit? If he did zero and interest rates got a little better? I mean, isn't that the fine line that we're walking here?
Yeah, but I think they've done a lot of what they were trying to accomplish. One was the housing piece, getting it a little bit more in balance.
Right.
It's, I think even in our show today, it still could be considered a seller's market.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we've came miles from that, right? So
Yep.
So they have done that. They and there's other stuff I'm sure they've accomplished, but at this point in time, I don't know what else they can accomplish.
Right.
With trying to tame inflation, right? Because every other sector in our country is doing really well.
Yep. And like you said, of all the sectors in the country, we're the ones taking the beating,
I mean, yeah, we are. I mean, yeah. I mean, it just happens to be us two on this show. Right. The rest of the company's out busy, too busy working and doing other stuff. So
and we're not, we're all right. So let me try something here. Gonna do that. Can you tell I'm trying an experiment here? And it's just not doing what I want. So heck with that. All right. So here we go. I'm going to move on to the next thing I thought was pretty interesting. And that's going to be 84% of recent first-time home sellers have regrets. And here's the 4 mistakes that they'll want to avoid. And if there's anybody on here that's thinking about selling, here's what you want to keep an eye on. People were concerned, and here's the way it broke down. 84% of first-time home sellers wish they had done something differently regarding the timing, pricing, or marketing of their transaction in their house. And when you're in the midst of chaos, it's pretty easy to figure you missed something because it's been chaotic at least this last year has been chaotic. Good. And so here was the first one. The first problem I had was not having a winning pricing strategy. I can tell you, and I know that Rodney and I had talked about this before, if you're selling a house, and you have the idea that your house is going to get more than if you have what I call a hot market hangover. If you still think that there's going to be accelerated price, you're going to make an extra, I'm going to exaggerate, an extra $1 million. That's not going to happen. The pricing strategy has to be, this is kind of simple really, is the house has to be in a little better condition for a little better price. And you have to pay attention to what's sold in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I would say a month maximum. If you go further than that, you're going to have, yep, I hear you. If you go further than a month, the numbers they're not going to add up anymore because that's how fast the market is. You feel good about that, Rodney?
Yes. I just, my whole thing about this article, it's like first time home seller regrets. They're coming off the largest equity push known to man.
Yep.
And they've got regrets.
Yeah.
So, it should be titled, "Let's Catch the People Who Sold in like 2019, right? And didn't have a house." So,
yep. Yep.
But,
yeah. But the point's taken that, that's just the human element of real estate. And that's what drives the market. And I'm not going to call it greed. You're just trying to maximize your profits. That's all. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, you better be. I mean, I don't call it greed either, but if you're selling something, you need to, who doesn't want to sell it for the most it can sell for?
You bet. And like Angie and I were talking for a little bit ago, of their value being up over 100%. I don't know about her area specifically, or, that's going to, again, be local. But my bet is going to be in pretty good shape, and so I'm saying good for those folks. It's just times are changing. You got to pay attention to that. You have to pay attention to that. The number 2 issue that people had was ignoring curb appeal. I can't stress this enough. If the outside doesn't look like something that you have to go inside, when you pull up, you go, we got to go in there. It's got to be that good with fresh mulch, the grass trimmed, the outside clean and crisp and nice and ready to go. It has got to draw people in. I mean, outside of a number of bedrooms and stuff, if you can get somebody over the threshold, you're 50% there sold. Because there's a lot of times people will pull up to a house, not in this last year, because you could have put a cardboard sign on the door and it would have sold. Right. But now people are saying, if it's not nice, I'm not even going in. And there will be people, even though inventory is a little bit low, so you might not get a lot of it, but there will be people that will not go in a house because the outside doesn't look good enough. That's what I'm saying. That's the risk.
No,
a quarter of the people now, and this is, you can speak to this for sure, Rodney. Not that you couldn't for the other things. The third issue was the bad timing they were talking about. I just don't know that exists right now.
I mean, that's what gets me is outside of being an investor. But if you're owning a home, you're usually moving with a job, a family situation, a school. There's a lot of things families move for, right? It's just, you just can't time the market. It's just like, to me, it's just like, I was just talking a call before this. I was just talking to the guys and we're talking about rates. I'm like, yeah, it's, they are what they are. It's like, you just get the best you can the day you can get it, right? And then in 2 or 3 years, you may have to manage that money somehow else with a refi or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the timing piece of it's really, it just is what it is. And when you try to time stuff is when you may overthink yourself and get burned on stuff.
Yeah. And I can't stress how correct that is. Because you know what, all of this stress with everything that's been going on, and I don't want to claim stress, but the question marks and the wondering is, how's the market going to crash? How long have we been hearing that? And that's clearly not in the mix. I mean, the economy's gone through a lot of strain, and housing is doing okay. I mean, they're holding up all right, and we'll get to one of those in a second. But people trying to time the market, and that I say, if you time out the market and win, you lucked out. You lucked out. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And the way I try to help people time it is like they're going to close on, say, July 30th, right?
Right.
So I try to time it the best we can to lock that rate in within a certain, I'm in a short window, right? From this time they say they signed the contract and only have 45 days or 30 days. So it's like you're buying this house between July 1 and July 30th. You got to lock that rate sometime, and you just try to time that the best you can, because you've bought it in that month. And if you go back on that graph and look at the rates, how they are, I mean, you don't have much of you can't really time anything.
You really can't. Yet people talk about it. People try to do, what's the market doing? What are they asking you?
Yeah.
That's what they're asking you. Is my timing good? Yes.
And I mean, the timing, and the timing's relative. I mean, I can help people with timing in a short period of time.
And Angie really she makes the point, which I know that you've made the point. In the end, it all evens out, because if you're an investor, I agree. You're looking at things different. It's a spreadsheet. You'll make the call on pulling the trigger on an investment property based on a bottom line number or top line, whichever direction you're going. If you're an investor, it's a different game. If you're buying a house to live in it, it's the long game. And I don't want to say who cares, because that sounds flippant.
Yeah.
But the purchase price is less important. The best example I have is I know what I bought this place for, my house, but I couldn't care less. Because it's 5 years later. None of that's history, man. Nobody cares. I don't care. But sometimes there'll be buyers go, what'd they buy for? What'd they pay for it in 2013? I don't know. Stop asking that. Go away.
Yeah.
So the last one, and we got a couple other things. Are you okay with time, Rodney?
I am.
Okay. Ignoring repairs. So that'd be the last thing, that they have regrets. Now, the reason they're saying they have a regret is that if you don't make repairs and somebody makes an offer knowing that repairs are needed, they're not going to give you nearly as much money as if the house was move-in ready. Simple as that.
Right.
And it can be significant, because as a seller, to fix something up, it can cost you $5,000. But as a buyer, you can think that it's going to cost you $20,000 to do the same amount of work. I mean,
Right.
Yeah. We ought to get $100,000 off of that peeling paint on the deck,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let it be like a crack in your, just a settlement issue on a foundation or something, that a foundation structural person come out there and make it perfect for, a couple $1,000, and the steps and everything come back together perfectly, right? And so there's really not a lot of damage at all, but they want 50, the buyer wants 100,000 off.
Yeah, so, just in case, because you never really know. I can't try. I want to get a second opinion on that.
But if you're a seller and you don't, you ignore that item, you're kind of begging for that, right? I mean, you can't do that.
Yep, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. There you go. So let's see. A couple of other things. If you've got here's okay. There's a couple of these things, man. We're going to do this next week. I picked up something. It's called the best and worst of all the states, like best places to retire and all that kind of stuff. Cost of living. We'll save that for next week.
Jump on that Idaho one, that Idaho, Florida one. Have you talked about that?
I got a, what's the,
It's the one where the local real estate, the Florida is going up in value and Idaho is going backwards.
bear with me. Is there a title in there? What's the article? What?
Yahoo, housing.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Is that the gain in momentum? Yes. I don't know. I'm lost on that one, Rodney. Let's do this one. And this is, and if you can help me figure out that one, you can send me a chat and let me know. Just repaired and fixed every single rinky-dink crack. Good for you. Good for you. you're gonna get top dollar. That's what's gonna happen. So we're gonna jump back for a second and look at one thing that this is gonna be, you watch in this next week or so. The article is home sales spiked 14.5% in February, and we've kind of touched on why that happened. Rates dropped a little bit, so that spiked. It's also spring, and I'm telling you that this proves essentially that there is pent up buying power. You know, I mean, there's people that they're wanting to buy. You know, they're wanting a house.
yes.
14%. So that's a big jump. But as the median price drops for the first time in over a decade, that is going to be headline news. You watch. This is where you're going to start seeing stuff, is the housing market crashing. And then they'll finish it with price drops for the first time in over a decade. No.
Yes.
And the answer, and we've been talking about this since day one about that. And I'll
Yes,
even,
the
yes.
0.001% drop.
Yeah, it's huge, right? But here's the thing. We've had the year over year, and that's what they're talking about, versus we've been talking about for months. Prices have been dropping month over month over month, little dribs and drabs and dribs and drabs, and that's Powell doing his best, you know, where he's cranking up rates and slowing people down, and that's where all this is happening. It's coming down, coming down, coming down. Until now, finally, the median price drops below the year over year. That's where now everything's starting to kind of make sense a little bit. When prices are dropping, it's actually being reflected over that year. But what nobody's talking about is, and you had mentioned this a bit ago, Rodney, was the sweet spot for home purchases now is, what's the price point on that? $350?
Yeah, maybe even lower than that. I think, yeah, somewhere around 350 is the best I could gather.
Right.
Like, it's less rate sensitive over that mark, over 350.
Right. And if we've been reading correctly on a lot of the stuff that's been happening with the luxury market, it's slowed down pretty significantly these last months. And so the median income, or not the median income, but the median price is being affected as much as anything else by the lower price points people are buying. You can't buy as much house as you could buy a year ago or whatever, when it was 3%, I'd be living in a different house if the rates were what they are now versus what they were when I bought. I'd be living in a different place. And so that's all. That's I've been waiting.
Right. The affordability, since the rates are higher, the affordability has driven the median house price down, just because and secondly, I guess that a lot of since it's a lot of first time home buyers buying as well, that's driving it down as well. But the affordability piece is what you're talking about.
Yes,
is driving the median price down, just because it's an affordability issue, not necessarily a house availability issue.
Correct. I mean, and so the natural outgrowth of people spending less on average for hundreds of thousands of people, the median price is going to drop. So is it a function of the same house being worth less? I
Right.
don't think so.
Right. No. Yeah. I see.
It's a
No, that's
different house.
right. Yes. Yeah.
I
Because
can't
the
afford it. I can't afford a
yeah.
Cadillac this year. It's going to be a Kia, which is
Yeah.
Kias are good.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, oh, I okay. I found what you're talking about. But anyway, I wanted to mention that because, man, I'm telling you, Inman, who is they're pretty heavy hitters in the real estate news space, and Realtor.com is making a big deal about that. It also increases when you would do the seasonally adjusted with the rate jump, meaning the 14.5% in February, from January, February, it jumps the adjusted annual rate of home sales to 4.5 million. Because remember, it had dropped to below, I believe it was below 4, which is really slow, really slow.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
So yeah, adjust it by okay. If the rates were this, yeah. Well, that
right,
yeah.
but they blow that out for an entire year. If that 14% were to increase the entire year, we'd have 4.5 million. But it's not going to do that because when the rates tap 7, it's going to drop, and so all they try to do is keep it so that we can compare one set of numbers with another. Yeah, the whole price decline year over year that I think you're talking about, is that Florida Realtors? I think it is. That Angie and I did that earlier about where the home prices are falling the fastest. Is that the article you were talking about?
No, this is the one where it was just it was kind of your thing about how real estate was local,
Oh, right.
local, right? So most of Florida is seeing a huge gain right now, where
Huge.
Idaho is going backwards. But a lot of those north, I guess, west areas look like they're starting to go backwards. Like even attached to Arizona.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
When they were talking about, I think this article on the housing crisis is a little dark. We don't need to do that. But I mean, overall, tomorrow's just going to be interesting. That's a heck of a balancing act that guy's got to do. And you know what? All we can do is just respond to it in the moment, meaning you and me as professionals.
yeah,
That's all we can
yeah,
do.
yeah. I'm just hope that the biggest thing is our market's going to be what our market is, right? It's always cyclical. It's always on a graph going one way or the other, right? But I think he's getting close to messing around with a serious issue if you mess around with these bank policies too much, or you keep crunching these numbers where banks are already telling you, hey, you know we're under a little strain here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that was good.
but
Well, I tell you what, I think probably a good place to stop. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to save that. I'll send this to you. It's the best and worst of all of the states across. I'll give you one tip. This number 2 most affordable is Tennessee. So tune in next week to learn why Tennessee is the second most affordable place, second after Alabama.
nice. Let's go Vol.
Well, listen, Ange, thanks you so much for putting up with us today. That was exciting. That's live stuff, man. Hey, Philip. Oh no, really? We can't let that go. Are you reading that?
Yeah, I am. You mean like immediately? Because they don't carry a whole lot of cash.
Right.
You have to draw out I think I had to call them one time. I think I was buying a truck or something. I think I called them, told them I was coming, like pick up like 20,000 or something. I think I let
Right.
them know a day ahead of time.
Huh. No kidding.
But,
Huh. Well, that's We'll have to
I don't want
I
access to mine.
I want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, anyway, listen, everybody, thanks a lot. It's been an exciting day. Next Tuesday, we'll go back to oh, Philip.
You haven't been watching our show long enough.
We're fine. It's not the same. It feels the same, but feelings aren't facts. All right. Hey, listen, before it gets too crazy, where's my button? See ya.